History made down under. It's time now to focus on the other big prize of 2019 as Virat Kohli and company aim to make it an unforgettable year for Indian cricket. Cricbuzz Live will be there with you with a panel that leaves no base uncovered during the 13 one-dayers, the T20s, the IPL and more in Team India's build-up to the ICC Cricket World Cup 2019. And it all begins here at the Sydney Cricket Ground as dreams are sought to be made one step at a time to try for the biggest prize of them all. First play the World Cup and then win it. And Cricbuzz, with its mix of joy, fun, insights, analysis, with special panels, will try and get you close to the action, will try and give you the feeling you're almost there. Cricbuzz, right through the season.
Hello everybody and welcome to Cricbuzz Live. First of all, Happy New Year, because we're meeting for the first time in 2019 and what a fabulous year. It's going to be so much cricket to be played, so much cricket to be discussed, so many stories to be told right here on Cricbuzz Live. I'm Gaurav Kapur. With me today, Mr. Ajay Jadeja, Mr. Zaheer Khan. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning and Happy New Year to all the viewers and to you as well, Gaurav.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, sir. And this is a cricket year, Cricbuzz. The buzz is cricket.
That's right.
So what a great start to this year. 6:30 in the morning.
6:30.
We haven't seen that for a while.
Coffee.
So thanks to Cricbuzz, we're here at 6:30 talking about cricket, and I think that's what the year is going to be like.
I wake up every day, 6 o'clock, 45 Surya Namaskars. It's just me, you know.
By 6:30, I'm done with, yeah.
Actually, you're done. Nicely played.
40 Surya Namaskar, yes. Make sure I do that and then go to sleep.
Yeah, nocturnal. Because he wants to watch cricket from all over the world. And then that will finish at 5 in the morning. Then he'll be like, okay, let me wake up the kids for school.
Yeah.
This series now let me go to sleep.
Yeah, because this series has been really tough. Because the time the game starts is the time to go to sleep. 4:30, 5 in the morning.
I did have a chat yesterday with the authorities to push the toss back so that we could just sleep a little later. But they don't listen to me yet. It'll happen soon enough. All right, first of all, of course, big celebrations. We're all very happy because India did win the Test series. And that's the first time that has happened in ever. I don't want to show stats. This is the first time it's happened ever. So, of course, India won the Test series. Mere hisab se to it's 3-1. I'm ignoring that rain that happened on the last day in Sydney. I'm just hoping that that rain has done what it had to do with spoiling our party and it doesn't spoil our party today.
I think the most satisfying thing for me was India went there as favourites.
Yeah.
And they started the tour on the winning note by winning that first Test at Adelaide, and they finished so strong. So that's something which speaks volume. They've been playing good cricket overseas, but the results were not seen. And especially to achieve, maybe the results were on hold to achieve something so special. First ever Test series victory is always something special. We've always been looking at going down under and winning that series there.
Yeah.
Has never been easy for any of the teams touring that side of the world. So that's something which is a great achievement on team's part, and the team's contribution was every individual has contributed.
That's right. It was a different match, really different guys stood up, different innings, different situation. You just had so many people standing up, and that's the true test of Test cricket, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is Test cricket. I mean, the opposition could be strong, it could be weak, it doesn't matter. You got to still go out there and do it. Just that at the start of this series, how many people would have not expected India to win?
Yeah.
Good point. So from that point of view, yes, I mean, record books look good, like you said. It's never happened or whatever. But I think this was a side that you expected India to win.
Yeah.
Australia hasn't done well. They've struggled against most teams that have come to Australia in the last few years. So not the same old Australian team that we're looking at. Maybe something to learn from, because the same thing probably happened to West Indies.
Yeah.
The first team to dominate for 10, 12, 15 years in Test cricket, apart from Australia and England when there was another era of cricket when there were only 2 teams playing. But since you've had 8 teams playing around the world, I think there've been only 2 eras. One is West Indies, in the late 70s and 80s.
Great point.
And then Australia took it on from there.
Yeah.
And now they've, let India take the lead, I think. So I'm looking at it from that point of view.
Yeah, it's very interesting because that means that while things are going good and things are going good for Indian cricket right now, which means that you make sure that the culture is solid, the grassroots are solid, the second rung is solid, cricket is healthy, and not just on the field, but just around everywhere. And to Ajay's point, going into the one-day series also, of course, it's India favourites, not just in India, also in Australia, everywhere it's favourites. But Cricket Australia did a very good trick yesterday, right? They did a trick. They didn't get me. They almost had me with these retro uniforms that they've got out. That fuzzy feeling of childhood came back, and you were like, oh, nostalgia was ticking. The subconscious said, oh, I want to support this team. And I said, oh, hang on 1 second. What's going on here? They're playing these mind games.
What they're in search of is not the retro uniforms as well. It's also
magic.
the style of play.
The retro magic they want back.
What everyone has grown up seeing Australians do on the field. And that's something which has been missing. The stats also show that, their results in ODIs in the last few years have not been that great. So clearly a team going through a transition and a team which is low on confidence.
Yeah, they won two games last year, I think, in the entire year.
These words were never associated with Australian teams. So that's something which they're looking to revive.
Yeah, it's like. It's ulta, no? You say like old wine in new bottle. This is new wine and they've put it in the old bottle, right? Maybe old bottle ka flavor aa jayega usme.
Well, memory, like you said, I mean, those are childhood memories.
Yeah.
I can still visualize Simon Davis coming, bowling that in swing, and Sunny sir, putting his Goda down and over mid wicket.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a sight a lot of people probably don't remember. Sir, you think about Sir, batting all along the ground, but there was a series in Australia with these clothes that the Australians had.
I just want to tell people that Goda is Punjabi for knee, just in case you think he stopped his horse, put his horse down. No, that's not. It is just, we resort to Punjabi every now and then. Goda.
Yeah.
Okay, so, the news from Sydney for the first one-day international is that Aaron Finch, that's right, he's the captain, get used to it.
Yeah.
Not temporary. He is the one-day captain. So Aaron Finch has won the toss, decided to bat first, which is no surprise in Sydney. Is this okay? So a lot of people are trying to make their peace with the fact that all these wickets now, even in Australia, they are not helping the bowlers. They are flat wickets. They are batting wickets. There's 300 plus scores that are made in Sydney. This is also different from, of course, nostalgia days, right? Where it
I think what's changed is how they've been making wickets. These drop-in wickets are in a similar nature, and that's something which are in a way the wickets tending to be on the favoring batting. That's something which I've seen in the past. That there have been talks around the drop-in pitches, and that's something which has changed in Australian cricket as well, and that's why probably the wickets are placid, and you've seen some huge runs being scored even in the test match at Sydney.
Okay.
So that's something which we will be witnessing in this match as well. India would have definitely loved to bowl second, because Sydney has been known to be spinners' paradise. All the teams who have been playing there have been waiting, all the spinners and the batsmen as well, to play these two games, one in Sydney and one in Adelaide. That's something which you always know that is going to favour batsmen and spin bowlers, and Asian teams in particular would always enjoy playing on these kind of surfaces.
That's right, because we have the two spinners, of course. Let's look at the 11, of course, as Australia is going to be batting first. India would have liked to bat first as well, because when you win the toss here, you usually like to bat first, and the teams batting first win more often than not. I think it's 4 out of 5 of the last games. But there you go. There's the 11. Let's look at the bowling first, right? There's Khalil, Shami and Bhuvi. Those are the quicks. Zach, you happy with that?
Happy with that. I was expecting Siraj to be part of this playing 11,
especially in place of Shami.
For simple reason, because Shami has played all the 4 test matches. A break would have come handy at this stage. But clearly also at some stage Indian team is looking at World Cup as well. So that's the thought process. Shami has been in the mix now. So they want to give him ample opportunities to prove his worth in the ODI format, and that's the reason he's part of the playing 11, I guess.
Let's pull back the team again. Ajay, 2 spinners for India. You get Ravindra Jadeja. You get Kuldeep there, so Chahal has to sit out, and that's because Hardik can't play. If Hardik would have played in place of Jadeja, you would have had a quick option. That meant one of the quicks would have sat out for Chahal. But you've got Jadeja and Kuldeep, and you'll take that.
Yeah, you would take that, but there'll be a little change because Kuldeep and Ravindra are totally different bowlers.
Yes.
You got used to Kuldeep and Chahal bowling in the middle. They don't provide that pace and the batsman needs to, generate all the pace of the ball and try and play those shots. Had Hardik played, then you probably would have had one seamer less, because we've always played with two spinners. So maybe you would have had Chahal in place of Ravindra and then had an all-rounder, and maybe one of the fast bowlers would have missed out.
Yeah.
So I think they've got that opportunity, and I'm totally with Zach. I think Mohammad Shami has shown, over the last year, because something that was a problem with him was his fitness. You look at the last year, every test match in England he's played, every test match in Australia he's played. So he's shown a huge improvement in terms of physical ability or just staying fit. It's just that, can he find a place in the one-day side? And I think he has a place, because the way I see it, you've got to use him better.
Yeah.
Zach did it beautifully when he played for Delhi, and because every bowler has his strength. If you use him at a different position, he probably doesn't look that effective.
Yeah.
He's a length bowler, maybe start at the top and probably finish him off in the middle. So you might see that middle stage where Kuldeep's bowling from one end, you will have Shami at the other end.
Interesting. There is, and we're going to pull the Indian 11 one last time, because there's one last point that I want to make. Kedar Jadhav is sitting this one out. Dinesh Karthik is playing, which brings me to my favorite point of discussion. Zach, 5 bowlers only. Nobody else to roll his arm over.
I'm glad you noticed that, GK. You've been very good at it, I think, spotting where is the missing link. And from this playing 11, if anything, you have to just take note of is that point. I think, sixth bowling option has not been part of this playing 11, so the onus is going to be on these 5 bowlers to make sure they have a good day out there, because the captain is not going to have any options whatsoever, so he has to look to use full quota of all the bowlers, and that at times can be tricky. But when you're playing on a ground like Sydney, you're just backing yourself to chase down whatever.
But as a bowling unit, I want to ask you, you have bowling meetings, right? You have bowling meetings before a game. Okay, we're only 5 bowlers. Obviously, all the bowlers, when you go in, you're thinking, I'm not going to have a bad day. Of course, I'm going to have a good day.
Yeah.
But when you have a 6th and 7th option as a bowling unit, as the leader of a bowling unit, as you have been, does that give you some safety? How does that work?
It gives you options for sure.
Yeah.
And it also gives you that backup plan and something to fall back on. So which is going to be missing, and especially if you're playing on a high scoring ground, there is going to be a situation where you might need a 6th bowling option. So if you look at SCG, the scores been on the higher side. So especially on these kind of grounds, it's good to have that 6th bowling option, because if someone is having off day or someone is looking low in confidence, because in a game scenario, in a game situation, it's not always easy for anyone, if you're having a bad day, to come back strong, and that's something which when as a captain you are in a situation, you always have that 6th bowling option to take those 2-3 overs out, because bowling 10 overs when you're having a bad day is always
can feel like a long day.
Today they probably would not think about it, because you luckily lost the toss in this case. Luckily, I mean by for bowling, because then you will bowl first. So when you're bowling first, you probably don't look at it that in depth in that same manner, because there isn't a total that you're playing against. So the 5 bowlers, you won't feel short unless somebody gets injured.
Good point, actually. We also must talk about, on the other side, of course, you have Australia. We'll talk about them. They have 1 spinner. Just a second. You're playing 2 spinners. There's no Hardik Pandya, right? If Hardik would have been there, you have your spin twins of Chahal and Kuldeep, and they operate so well together. The fact that Hardik's not playing is a big loss there. I think another loss that the spin twins also get separated. So the balance does get upset when you have the all-round option in the middle, especially a guy like Hardik who's not available.
I personally feel it's a creation of the media over the years. Because I'll give you a very good example. We never won overseas for 70 years in Australia, or the tours that in the last few years that we've been working. There's always this conversation. Oh, because we don't have an all-rounder, we can't win overseas. You've just won a test series without an all-rounder. See, a side is made by a captain, and everybody has to play a role. So maybe that all-rounder that we keep looking at, unless you're talking of somebody like Kapil Paji or Imran Khan and people like that, who could get into the side for their bowling or feather batting.
Once a century players.
So I don't think that's the case with Hardik as yet. And it doesn't look like the case will be as the case is going forward. There's not much I can say about that case.
But Hardik not being there means Jadeja gets that position. Remember, he came in during the Asia Cup about a year ago. It's fascinating, because a year ago, he was nowhere in India's one-day plans. Suddenly, he comes to the Asia Cup, he does well over there, and now he's here. And remember, in England, and everyone's talking about the World Cup, so must we. But in England also, you're going to play two spinners there.
Yes,
those are the wickets now.
That's something which has been working for Team India for sure.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about Ravindra Jadeja, he has made use of that opportunity which he got in Asia Cup brilliantly. He's grabbed opportunity with both hands, and that has now put pressure on Chahal as well. Chahal is still waiting in the ranks to make his comeback of sorts. In the playing 11, because the combination will always be around two spinners for Indian team. It's just about who is going to be in that playing 11.
Yeah.
And Chahal doesn't contribute in the same manner as Jadeja with the bat. So that's something which
contribute
always
with the bat. Chahal. Yeah. Well, yeah. He's a good kid. He's a good kid. He thinks he's a good batsman.
His fielding also has gone down. So that's something there are a few areas which Chahal will have to work on.
But it tells Zach, last 8 internationals that India has played white ball cricket, he's not been part of 7 of them. This is ODI and T20, so
yes,
he's not been part of 7
started
of the last 8.
with West Indies series for sure, and the pressure was building from Asia Cup. When you have someone making a comeback and performing the way he has been performing, Ravindra Jadeja I'm talking about. So that's obviously going to create that healthy competition, which is always good for team, because there are players who are waiting in the ranks who are good enough to be part of the playing 11, but still have to await the opportunity.
I love watching Ravindra Jadeja bat. Sometimes do you wish that he just applied it just a little more? Do you look at Jadeja batting and go, you've got so much talent, a little more, please?
But I guess that's the case with Jadeja.
Yeah.
When you look at them,
so much potential.
But I think he's done wonderfully well. I mean, since he's come back, when he was left out, going back last couple of years, if I had to pick him in any side, it'll probably be shorter version first, and then probably longer version. And that's how he came into Indian cricket. That's how he got into the Indian side. But somewhere along the line, he ended up becoming only a test player, and that too only towards the end of the series, not even starting. But he's an ideal player for a limited over version, because he adds with 20 odd runs with just his fielding.
Correct.
And especially
such a good point. Yeah.
And these grounds are outfield. The batting style that he has. What happens with a lot of all-rounders is that the batting style is that they're very good. They're probably better than him, but they would be solid players. He's going to bat at 6, 7, 8, whatever number. Very rarely would he have to play a role of building an innings, taking it through. Mostly the contribution is going to be quick 20, 30, 40. And on top of that, what you have is a guy at the other end, because I can understand that. But if you have a guy at the other end who can run as fast as you, so somebody like Mahendra Singh Dhoni would be happier having somebody like him, because who can run that fast. So he's got all the attributes to be playing limited over version, but somehow for the last year or so, Indian cricket didn't think about him. Suddenly now he's your main player. But that's been the case with this team.
Yeah.
I think, whether you accept it or not, with the Indian team, the management, the captain that you have now, for the last 2-3 years, it's always been there. It's been what you do today is what matters. It's not that they're building. We keep hearing that they're building, but that building has kept changing in the last couple of years, depending on whoever is contributing. And I think they've stuck to whoever performs, carries on. They don't have a plan in mind and I have to take this guy along. There is no guy that they're wanting to take along. They want to take along players, but whoever is doing it himself, rather than saying, even if he doesn't do well, we'll carry him along. You haven't built the side. This side is not built like that. It's been built on sheer talent. Anybody who comes into the side is making a place for himself, and Ravindra has done that beautifully.
By merit, just jump in. Okay, well, let's talk about the Australia team. But before that, so interesting that Zach was talking about how when he went to play in Australia, and that was a different Australian team. It was a different Australian crowd, a different Australian media. They would put pressure on you from all angles. It's not the case anymore. And we've got Harsha, who's center stage and who's telling us a little more about that. The man on the ground, Mr. Bhogle.
The general feeling is that the Australian media always backs their team, isn't it? That's a story we've been fed for so many years. Try reading the Australian media when the team is losing, when players are not performing. They are no different from everybody else. They pile on, and they pile on like nobody else as well. And that's what they've been doing in recent times. But yes, there's a big task ahead of them. And I think if you read the media here, there's also an acknowledgement that there is a big task ahead of them. 2 out of 13 is a stark number, literally, and I'm not trying to pun on the word stark. It is a stark number, and Australia are searching for the right combinations. There's been a purge from the team that played one days till last year. And now all of a sudden they're getting some of the test players in. They're saying, right, how can we manage with the resources that we have at the moment? I'll venture to say that the next 5 months are critical for Australian cricket to get the right mix to try and defend the World Cup.
So a lot of new faces in the Australia ODI team, and one of them being Peter Siddle, who last played a one-day international in 2010. There's been 160 odd one-days between his last appearance to this 169. 7 of that 11 have retired. And there you go, Peter Siddle. Yeah. The old man, not so much. Young man, doing well in the Big Bash League. It just shows, Zach, that experience, even in the shorter format, like it doesn't matter. You don't need to be 25 years old, right? Even at 35 with experience.
Well, also another indicator of how things are with cricket Australia.
Yeah.
You know,
I was trying to be optimistic for them.
That was not something which was associated with Australian cricket. You know, Australian cricket was always about moving on. Like, you know, you move on if some youngster is in the ranks, doing well, claiming a spot at the highest level. So you would move on from the experienced cricketers. You know, that's what Cricket Australia has been doing very consistently over the years. But the fact that they're looking for some experience shows that the young talent or the team which is available right now, you know, needs some seniors guidance as well. You know, you've seen it with the Indian team when someone like Ashish also had made a comeback after a long time, purely with the thought process that, you know, the experience can be used to help youngsters in better way in terms of dealing with situations on the ground, and that's something has been the case with Peter Siddle as well. 8 years for a comeback is a long time, and Peter Siddle has been a consistent performer and at the highest level has been a very successful cricketer. So for him to make a comeback after 8 years also tells a story of how things are with cricket Australia.
Yeah, are the cupboards bare in Australia? Let's bring the team back again. Jason Behrendorff, I hope I've got his name right, man. His name is such a tongue twister. Right, Jason Behrendorff is making his ODI debut today. Did very well in a T20 game against India in Guwahati. I think he got a 4-wicket haul over there. So there you have Peter Siddle, who last played in 2010. Behrendorff, who's making his debut, opposite ends of the spectrum there with their bowling attack. But there you go. Lyon comes back into this team, so obviously no Zampa. They've decided to play only one spinner. There was talk that they may play 2. Would you have liked that, Ajay? Would you have liked to see them do that as well, or are they just nervous playing 2 spinners?
I think anybody would be nervous playing 2 spinners against India, because India's, you know, happier having spinners bowling to them. What you would like to see with Australia is, you know, they need to find. I mean, yes, you have Aaron Finch as the captain at the moment. You think of any of those Australian sides, the first name that you think of is a captain, and then captain used to run the team and decide how that team is going to play, and then he could, you know, pick a side. What has happened with Australia is you don't have a leader anymore. You know, after I think Michael Clarke came to Sony here, also when he left Australian captaincy, since then it hasn't been the same. So it was last Ponting. You know, you go back before that, it was Steve Waugh, it was Alan Border,
Mark
Taylor. So that is the clue. For me,
you've just gone back 25 years in Australian cricket, and you just named 4 names, right? Because that's how they ran it.
So that's the basic change with the Australian team. So it's very difficult to see how they're going to play, because what happens when you have an Australian captain or, you know, a style of playing, then I could probably look at it and say, look, would they have played 2 spinners or not? But at the moment, the Australian team is, you know, playing. They're finding players to, you know, say, okay, you're doing well. Peter Hanscom, who's
dropped from the last test match.
That's what I'm saying.
Then did Big Bash.
And he's not also one of those outstanding players that you see talent and you say, okay, when he gets back, he will, you know, start winning games for you. He's a solid player, you know, he finds a way of playing. So if these players are coming back into the side, it just tells you, you used perfectly those words. In the cupboard, Baron?
Bare. The cupboard is bare.
The cupboard is bare. Australia ka is waqt halat kuch nahi hai. But this is a limited overs version.
I'm also surprised that they dropped Travis Head, because they played Travis Head in the test matches. Travis Head has done well in the Big Bash League, saw him batting yesterday. You know, it doesn't look like he's out of form. This is a format made for him. And suddenly you drop him out of this. So they just shaking it up out of panic?
To me, I think
there isn't a leader.
The style of play has changed. I think the way Australians used to approach the game, that has changed. So you can keep changing and have these chopping and changing sides. Bringing in new players. But you got to stick to the brand of cricket what you've been playing, which has got you success, and that's something which has been missing from this Australian team. So someone needs to just get them back to thinking in that fashion, because Australian cricket, as we know, was always about being positive, being out there and just taking your chances. There are days when you're going to be successful. There are days when results are not going to go your way, but the style of play has remained the same, which was always the case with Australian team. That has been missing.
Yeah.
Maxwell is the second.
I was
spinner.
just going to talk about this, saying that enfant terrible of Australian cricket. Can they make up their mind on him?
So no, and if they can make up their mind is one thing. If he's going to bat at 7, I mean, in the list,
let's pull that list up when Ajay is talking.
So
the 11,
and this is a person who's been in that side for the last couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years.
I think he'll bat ahead of Stoinis.
So okay, fair. Even
so
then,
6.
It's still 6. So this is a man that you've been backing or wanting him to be successful. The guy at 6, you got to sort the number 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
In one-day cricket, it's about 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's right. Who's opening with Finch? Is it Khwaja or is it Marsh? Or is it Carey?
We'll wait and see.
Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see.
Alex Carey.
Oh, you got a call from Australia?
They're going to go, direct
the hotline is on.
Yeah. Captain and wicket keeper decide. पहले बैट उठाया, चलो चले गए बैटिंग करने.
ये 5 और 6 जो प्लेयर दिख रहे हैं, ये पिछले 4-5 साल से अंदर बाहर घूमते ही हैं.
That's right, yeah.
और जब इनका अच्छा दिन भी होता है, ये अकेले मैच जिताने वाले प्लेयर इसमें अब है ही नहीं.
I think Finch, you could say, is one, of course.
No, they all can.
Yeah.
But it'll have to be, everybody will have to contribute. Not that they can't beat you.
Yeah.
I think in a limited over version, you can have any side that can come and beat you. We are a superior side, but we can still get beaten today because they're going to bat first. Then in the evening, the ball does move a little bit more than what it does in the afternoon. And it gets more difficult to chase when the lights are on in Sydney. Yeah. Every team wants to bat. So they've got everything going for them. But as a team, I don't see that they've found
there's a
direction.
There's a rhythm, there's an X factor that a team has.
A captain is the most important thing in cricket. It is not the selectors, it's nobody. It's the captain that decides how your team does.
For a cricket team, it's basically what they're saying is that a cricket team is always greater than the sum of its parts. And that's something that is lacking with Australia at this point in time and is working very well for India. Let's have a look at the joy factor question, because that's all we have left. Mr. Joy Bhattacharya has, of course, sent us his little googly sitting at home. There you go. The Charles Turner has the best overall bowling figures in a test at the SCG with 12 wickets for 87 runs. Who has the best test figures among left arm bowlers? My guess is Zaheer Khan. Is it?
In Sydney?
We'll have to wait.
Yeah, I don't know. He's here, so I just said it. That's my guess. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live. Send us your answers on Twitter. We'd really like to know if you know that, because it ain't easy. It ain't easy, baby, because nothing is with the Joy, Professor Joy. Quick prediction game, guessing game. This is a fun game. Don't worry. Don't hold them to it. It's not legally binding. Australia's batting first. Where do you think they're going to end up?
At times it gets very boring. That for Indian team it's very important to have that start with the new ball. You need those 2-3 wickets, and if you achieve that against this team, I think which is already low in confidence, you would get them under par. And Marco at the pitch report also was saying that for any team to be breathing comfortably, defending the total. He was talking about 330 runs, so which is a huge total.
But you're not giving your number.
Middle overs are going to be
mutual fund
crucial,
se pehle disclaimer aata
I think Indian team will restrict Australia for about 280.
280 is your call. Yeah. Your call?
I think they'd be disappointed if they go past that number, because they haven't got past that number even in Test cricket, where there's no rush to get those runs. You are a superior side. So if the captain stays aggressive and he knows what the opposition is, they'll be disappointed if they get past 280.
So what's your guess? I'm saying guess.
Guess.
Below 280, that's what he's trying to say.
I would like to, of course.
No, not like, to guess.
I think anything past 240, India should be disappointed, because what you've done in the Test match doesn't change overnight. It's the same pitch that you're playing on.
This is not even buying mutual fund, it's buying life insurance.
Not
10 pages of disclaimer. But what is your guess? 240?
It should be 240.
There is a prize whoever comes closest.
The price?
Yes.
241.
241. 280.
280.
I'm saying 302. Done.
We've covered it all.
We've covered it all. Like, let's see who gets the prize. You can also send us your tweets and guess what it will be. But tell us within the first 5 overs. Because after that, no. Within the first 5 overs, you will get a very nice prize. A mug from Cricbuzz, signed by all of us. I've just made that up. I hope we have an extra one. We, of course, will be seeing you in the Cricbuzz com box. Ajay and Zaheer will be there, joining you in the 15th over. I'll probably be taking a nap. And we'll see you, of course, after the 50 overs are over. Or 42. 41.
Yeah,
I don't know.
More likely.
Thank you very much to Ajay and Zaheer. I'm Gaurav Kapur, and we'll see you when the Australia innings is over. Thank you so much for watching Cricbuzz Live.